Jackson, Jackson, Jackson. What do we do with Nicolas Jackson? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And I have chosen this video to go into more detail about how I feel about the Nicolas Jackson situation. And as of right now, the situation isn't even official about what's going to happen with him, right? There's been a lot of noise about a lot of clubs being interested in him. The three big ones at the start of the noise were AC Milan, Aston Villa and Man United. There were some tentative links with Arsenal a little while ago, but those kind of dropped off, and obviously they've gone for Gyökeres, which, when you look at all of this in isolation, starts to actually make sense. So, AC Milan dropped out. The main reason being that we apparently slapped €115 million, £100 million price tag on him. And look, man, I've been a Chelsea fan for the last 2 years watching Jackson in our team, and I absolutely 100% can't get behind the idea that he's worth £100 million. As far as Aston Villa's interest goes, there was some talk about a swap deal, right? It was Morgan Rogers for Nicolas Jackson. They want Morgan Rogers to be worth 80. We want Nicolas Jackson to be worth 100. And UEFA came in and said, no, you can't do that. We're keeping an eye on your swaps. You be careful. And we were like, okay. And then all of a sudden, that Villa interest in Jackson seems to have slipped off a little bit, which seemed like an interesting one, right? Because obviously he's played for Unai Emery before at Villarreal, and they've both got lots of very nice things to say about each other. It's all very lovely. And the Man United news, to be honest, like, I just kind of assumed they were the last ones, man. Like, I know that obviously they're in for a striker. I mean, the thing is, if we're saying 100 mil for Jackson, in my head, what that really means is 70 is wicked. Do you know what I mean? Like, in my head, if we got 50 to 60 mil for Jackson, kind of like Noni Madueke, I'd be like, yeah, sound. So if we're putting 100 million price tag on him to say that he's worth 70 and we got 70, I'd be like, yeah, wicked. But no, I keep seeing it, man. I keep seeing it quite consistently. The Jackson to Man United news is heating up, and I'm not seeing any other number at all other than £100 million. And I just won't go through my head, man. It's outrageous. But all that aside, right, let's assume, let's play a little game, and let's assume that Man United pay us £100 million for Nicolas Jackson. I still can't get my head around it, man. But let us just assume that is what happens, and let's answer the question from a Chelsea perspective: is this a bad idea? But before we go any further, guys, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking or sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. So we're going to get into a couple of different angles about why I think this may or may not be a good idea, but I'm going to give you my TLDR with my overall assumption right now, and it's no, I don't think it's a bad idea. And we'll start with, from the Chelsea perspective, right, looking internally only at our own club and nothing to do with Man United, let's talk about why this isn't a bad idea. It's £100 million. It's literally £100 million. That's just what we got for winning the Club World Cup. That's what you get for winning the Champions League. That's what you get for finishing, well, I mean, anywhere in the Premier League, I think you get 100 mil, but still, it's like a whole season's worth of money for one player that we spent 30 mil on 2 years ago. Yes, it's a good idea. If for no other reason than we might get £100 million for him, then yeah, absolutely, man. That would be the sale of the century. That, I can't even think of anything in my head when a player of Nicolas Jackson's supposed quality, and this is coming from the lens of a Chelsea fan, has then been sold for £100 million. It's outrageous. So look, for me, anything 70, north of 70, is already unbelievable. Like, that's a serious chunk of change for a player that we have been really on the fence with for quite a while. So if we get £100 million for him, yeah, wicked, man. Do it. Sell him. I'll drive him there myself. I don't even drive, and I'll drive him there myself. So, money aside, right, let's just take the absolute mental nature of the money that we're talking about and put that in a little box in the corner for a moment. And let's talk about how Nicolas Jackson has done for Chelsea, and are we massively going to miss him, bearing in mind we're signing some new players to come in and kind of fill in that position? So the easy thing to say is Nicolas Jackson has been one of our better strikers for quite some time, right? You know, when you think we've had the likes of, I don't know, obviously Timo Werner and Kai Havertz and Olivier Giroud and Alexandre Pato and Radamel Falcao and Gonzalo Higuain, and these are all just off the top of my head. But in the last 6 or 7 years, that is the caliber caliber of striker that we have had. And it's largely been flops that we thought had potential and didn't, or players that have once been really good somewhere else and come to us and been absolutely rubbish. So when Nicolas Jackson came in initially, it was like, oh, breath of fresh air, look at this guy. He can run, he's young, he can kind of knows where the back of the net is, and maybe he can get better and better. So yeah, obviously, compared to like what us Chelsea fans are used to going through, Nicolas Jackson has been a breath of fresh air, ostensibly, but there are caveats with that, right? We are not looking to just get into the top four and for that to be the thing that we're trying to do. Obviously, what we're trying to do is build back to winning titles, winning Champions Leagues, being one of the biggest teams in the world, constantly playing on the biggest stages, going up against the likes of PSG and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and going toe-to-toe with Manchester City and Liverpool. That's where we want to be. So he's been with us for 2 years, and does he look like he's going to turn into that guy? Nah, man, I don't think so. You know what, as well, in all honesty, at the start of this season, when the Osimhen noise was happening, he signed for Galatasaray, by the way, so the nightmare's officially over. But I was one of the guys that was like, no, I don't want Osimhen. I think it's a bad idea. I think we should just give Nicolas Jackson the chance. He had a really good inaugural season, 14 goals for his first season, bearing in mind that he'd kind of only recently been, converted from a winger to a striker. He comes in, he doesn't get any penalties because Cole Palmer's the penalty guy and he scores 14 goals in the Premier League. So when we were linked with Osimhen, I was like, no, give Jackson a chance. I think if we back him, he'll perform well this season. And he's done all right. And obviously the whole team dropped off at some point, right? But in the grand scheme of things, has Jackson kicked on from last season? No, not really. It's a tough one, man. I don't want to be out here like I'm slamming Nicolas Jackson, right? I'm not slapping him down. He's obviously, like I say, compared to what we've had recently, he's been great, and I really appreciate that. He's been a big part of helping us get to this point that we're at now, where we look like we've just leveled up and we're about to really start making a push and a claim for those kind of spots that we're looking for. And anything negative I have to say about Jackson is absolutely juxtaposed against the fact that he has helped us get to this position that we're in now. But man, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, so, when you're talking about like Didier Drogba's and Diego Costa's and even like Erling Haaland's and Mo Salah's, do you know what I mean? Like these top guys that are winning titles and, they're there winning titles for their teams. Jackson just does not measure up, does he? He missed so many big chances. I think in his first season, he missed the most big chances out of anyone in the league. And even when, obviously last season, Cole Palmer, went off the boil and we weren't seeing much in the way of numbers from him, he was still creating the most chances in the league out of anyone, and that was just Nicolas Jackson getting more opportunities and squandering them. And the other thing's just the disciplinary issues, man. It's like the guy just keeps getting sent off in these really pivotal moments that we absolutely needed a striker. The Newcastle game, man, at the end of the season was like, oh, mate. And you know what? The mad thing about that was we looked better after he went off. We were down to 10 men, and the fight and the passion and the drive that arrived the instant Nicolas Jackson walked off the pitch was mental. And yeah, 8 yellow cards as well, and obviously another red in the Club World Cup that's just gone. It's like, mate, you need to keep a lid on it, man. He's obviously a passionate and emotional guy, right? That's fine. That's kind of good sometimes, do you know what I mean? And you can channel that essentially, but no, it's just a bit much, isn't it? It's just a bit much. So there it is. Like, yes, Jackson has been one of our better goal scoring strikers for the last few seasons. Absolutely, that's true. But is he the guy that's going to push us to the highest honours? No, I just don't think he is, man. I just don't think he is. So that's my Chelsea lens version of it, right? But obviously the other question is, how much are we strengthening a rival in Manchester United, and are we really worried that that will eventually come back to bite us? Now, unfortunately, the answer to that is not a resounding no. It won't hurt us at all. Like, there is definitely a chance that Man United will be much better off with Nicolas Jackson than they are with their current options in Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. So, again, caveats, like there's a few things to consider, isn't there? Ruben Amorim has had 6 months there. And I don't know if they're so much getting rid of, I know Rashford's going on loan to Barcelona. I know Rashford's probably on his way out. Obviously, they've brought in Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo. And don't get me wrong, the players they've brought in are good. But what we need to worry about, right, the thing if we're going to worry, we need to worry about is adding Jackson to Ruben Amorim's Manchester United with Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha, is that going to challenge for the same spot that we are next season? And nah, man, I don't think so. Do you know what I mean? As Chelsea fans as well, we've got some experience in a severe drop, right? And what necessarily doesn't happen is you don't finish 15th, and in our case it was 12th, and then rocket back up to Champions League just because, you know, you've signed a few players. Like, even if the players are really good, it takes so long to bed in and, you know, to build the new team tactics and the harmony and the togetherness and all of that. Like, I'm not necessarily concerned that next season anyway, like long term, okay, maybe there's a conversation to be had. I'm not really concerned that next season Jackson is going to lead Man United to a title charge. No, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. So they've obviously completely missed out on Europe, and that is one thing that will actually probably work quite well in their favour. You know, losing to Spurs in the Europa League final, which was in itself, do you know what I mean? The state of Man United to be giving Spurs their first ever European trophy and their first trophy in, 16 years or something, do you know what I mean? And the thing is, there's definitely something to be said in Ruben Amorim is probably a good guy to get the best out of Jackson. And the interest in there is largely based on how good he was with Gyökeres, right? And yes, that was in Portugal, but they are not exactly the same, but they have a lot of similarities that would kind of lead you to think, okay, maybe Amorim can get a tune out of Jackson because he likes a striker. So Gyökeres is a bit bigger and a bit bulkier than Jackson, right? But aside from that, they've actually got a lot of the same qualities. Before he became a striker, Jackson had just been a left winger. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of an experiment at Villarreal, and that's what we bought him based on. And, you know, he's kind of been a striker ever since. But Jackson was a left winger, and you see that when he plays as a striker, man. You're 100%. He drifts out to that left side. He looks really natural and comfortable there. And funnily enough, that is kind of exactly how Gyökeres played for Sporting as well. Now, the other link, as I mentioned before, is one of the original links to Jackson was Arsenal, right? So when the Noni Madueke noise was started, I think it was even before that, actually, there was some noise about potentially Arsenal looking at Nicolas Jackson. And the fact that they've gone for Gyökeres is obviously a better looking option from the optics, right? Because he's, you know, golden boot winner or whatever. He's scoring bags and bags and bags of goals. But it says to you that Arsenal are also looking for that striker that can drift into that left side. So there is definitely some sort of tentative connection between Jackson and Gyökeres stylistically to say that, okay, I can sort of understand why Amorim might be interested in him. He wants players that can dovetail and kind of mix and match with, you know, your Mateus Cunha's and his left wing backs and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And Jackson can definitely do that. He's 100% a versatile player. And when push comes to shove, for the most part, he does know where the back of the net is. So it's interesting. Do you know what I mean? Gyökeres has obviously got a lot more to his game than Jackson does. And we still also have to see, can Gyökeres do it in the Premier League? And that's the other question, right? Is, yeah, okay, fine. Amorim, you know, got a massive tune out of Gyökeres in Portugal, but that doesn't necessarily mean that even if Gyökeres went to Man United now, there's still no guarantee that Gyökeres is going to hit the ground running, because he's done really, really, really well in Portugal, which I don't even think is one of the top 5 leagues. So I watched a really interesting video from Tifo, like, you know, the athletic football YouTube channel, and they did this amazing like hour-long piece about why Gyökeres might actually struggle in the Premier League, and it's got something to do with the amount of space he had in Portugal compared to what he's going to get here is outrageous. So, you know, there's just a lot that bears thinking about, really. And look, if the question is, do I think Jackson will make Man United better than they are right now? Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I'll hold my hand up and absolutely say that, yes, I do think Jackson will improve Man United. I think he's a much better player than Rasmus Højlund. I think he's a much better player than Joshua Zirkzee. And I can see tactically why he might fit into Amorim's system. But do I think that Jackson, combined with their other signings, is going to rocket United from 15th to Champions League? No, not really. It's just such a jump, and there is still so much else to kind of cope with in that team as well, isn't there? They need like a whole massive clear out. You know, what's going on with their midfield, and do they need a better right wing back, and do they need an extra centre back, and what's their goalkeeper situation looking like at the moment? So yeah, like I say, man, Jackson is 100% a better option for Man United than they've currently got, but there's still so many other questions in that team that I'm not 100% worried about it. If I was a Man United fan, I'd be excited to see that we're going for people like Cunha and Mbeumo and Jackson, do you know what I mean? Refreshing your attack, buying players for the system that Amorim's trying to bring in. It looks good for them. But if we get anything, if Chelsea get anything north of 70 mil for Jackson, then we are robbing Man United, man, because I don't know I get, is Jackson going to score 20 goals for Man United next season? I think if you put a bet on that and he did it, you'd win a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? You know, I just don't really see it. I don't really see it happening. So let's answer the question, right? Let's answer the question. Now we've kind of talked about all of the different aspects of it. Is Chelsea selling Nicolas Jackson to Man United a bad idea? The answer is no, I don't think so. Maybe in the future, right? Maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, maybe something crazy happens and maybe we look back at it and go, oh, but by that time he's a United player. Do you know what I mean? He's not a fresh-faced Chelsea player. If we get 70 to 100 mil for him, that is just more money to reinforce the squad, which is awesome for us. And it also probably helps dig us out of our UEFA troubles that we keep getting into. He's not going to go to United and make them title challengers. It's just not going to happen. I mean, look, look, do you know what? Clip this up, right? Clip this up. Tell me in the comments if you agree with me or not, but absolutely clip this up. If I am wrong, I will make a groveling apology video and profess to know absolutely nothing about football, but I just can't see it, man. That's a real shout, isn't it? That's a real shout to say that Jackson is going to not even win the league. Do you know what I mean? Just get them to a point where they're competing with Chelsea for the same spot. We finished 12th. That was like our lowest finish for a really long time. And it has taken us 2 or 3 years since that 12th place finish to build our way back up. We scraped our way into 4th. We've just won the Club World Cup. We're buying good players. The team's starting to look together. And now we're starting to look ready. So maybe Man United could do something similar, but I just don't think it's a bad idea. You know, I think João Pedro is going to be great. I think Liam Delap is, you know, going to be a really able deputy. And hopefully they just push each other to keep getting better and better, which is something that Jackson didn't have. And it was something that he might not have if he goes to Man United either. So no, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea. I think getting 70 mil plus. 70 mil isn't anything I've ever seen in, you know, any of the news anywhere. That's just my head logic saying 100 mil just seems ridiculous. I can barely bring myself to say it out loud. But if we get 100 mil for Jackson, yeah, sweet, man. If we get 100 mil for Jackson and United win the league with him in 3 or 4 years' time, then that, for me, that was kind of still worth it. But is he going to be the guy that creates a new legacy for Man United and he becomes their next Cantona or Rooney or something? Like, no, man, no, I just don't think that's going to happen, is it? So, look, it's not even happened yet. It's all just noise. There's obviously talks happening, do you know what I mean? Because it's being talked about so much. There's obviously more to it than just paper talk at this point. And if Jackson goes, I'll appreciate the things that he's done for Chelsea, but I also, at the moment, lament seeing him on a football pitch because I'm just like, you're going to get sent off or you're going to miss a big chance or you're just going to be invisible for a lot of the game. So I'm going to wrap it up there, guys, but I would love to know what you think in the comments. Are you a Chelsea fan? And if you are, what do you think? Do you think selling Jackson to United is a bad idea? If you're a United fan, if you happen to have found my channel, same thing, man. Let me know. Are you buzzed for Jackson? Do you think he's worth £100 million? Are you happy to see, especially after sacking all your dinner ladies and, do you know what I mean, not being able to take your own staff to the Europa League final? Do you think shelling out £100 million on Jackson is a good use of your funds? Well, whatever, man, whatever. Nice one. I am going to wrap the video up there. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did. I'm going to keep my ear to the ground for more Chelsea news as ever, and I cannot wait to be the one to bring it to you. Nice one, guys. I hope you've had a wicked day, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Peace.